Welcome to Oxfordshire's multi-faith virtual prayer. We are joined by Mrs. Amanda Ponsonby, MBE, High Sheriff of Oxfordshire, Councillor Craig Simmons, Lord Mayor of Oxford, the Right Reverend Dr. Stephen Croft, the Bishop of Oxford, Sarah Montagu from the Jewish community, Maryam Hussain from the Muslim community, Chinta Kallie from the Hindu community, Davinder Singh from the Sikh community, and Prajnaketu from the Buddhist community, and Shria Suchak from the Baha'i community. High Sheriff, Lord Mayor, faith leaders and representatives, peace be upon you all. Thank you to all of you for joining us and making this possible. The aim of these gatherings is for a sharing of multi-faith prayer to bring our faith communities together at this difficult time. We believe we are stronger when we stand together in unity, love, mutual respect, and cooperation. This moment, no doubt, is unprecedented, but it is one moment of many other unprecedented moments in our history. Her Majesty the Queen reminded us in her moving address on the 75th anniversary of the Second World War that, and I quote her, "At the start, the outlook seemed bleak, the end distant, the outcome uncertain. But we kept faith that the cause was right, and this belief, as my father noted in his broadcast, carried us through. Never give up, never despair. That was the message of VE Day. Today, it may seem hard that we cannot mark this special anniversary as we would wish. Instead, we remember from our homes and our doorsteps. But our streets are not empty. They are filled with the love and the care that we have for each other. And when I look at our country today and see what we are willing to do to protect and support one another, I say with pride that we are still a nation those brave soldiers, sailors and airmen would recognize and admire." End of quote. The theme for today's multi-faith prayer was chosen in light of Her Majesty's message and also the reality that we will this week have been under lockdown for 2 months. There has been a huge loss of life, and we hold each one of our fellow citizens who have died, their families and friends, in our thoughts and prayers. We remember all our NHS staff, all frontline services, and all those involved in serving our communities and country. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to them all.
Thank you, Monwa, for bringing us together today. Praying together strengthens us all. And I really look forward to a time when we can be gathered in one place to celebrate victory over COVID. As Monwa said, last week we celebrated VE Day, and many of us listened to Her Majesty the Queen recalling our nation's feelings at the end of the war. In June 1945, the message was listened to Her Majesty the Queen recalling our nation's feelings at the end of the war. In June 1945, the message was, never give up, never despair. 75 years on, we are experiencing a different sort of war. It's still a total war, affecting everyone, and no one is immune from its impact. Earlier this week, I rang an old friend, a widow in her 80s, who, like so many, is self-isolating. We had a very happy chat, but what I remember most was her saying, "This is not going to get me down." Each day for comfort, she's been watching the trees from her window change from grey bare branches to beautiful green leafy mass. And on those dull wet days when the view is not as uplifting, she's turned on some music on the radio or busied herself with a little bit of baking. These are the things that have kept her looking forward to each day. I think this is fortitude. We have all witnessed the fortitude of those on the front line, in our hospitals, our care homes, the voluntary sector, food chains and essential services, who are fighting to save lives and support all of us. But for those of us in lockdown who need tools to find courage and fortitude, I've turned to an extract from the diary of Anne Frank, someone who knew only too well what it was like to be shut behind closed doors. She said, and I quote, "The best remedy for those who are afraid, lonely or unhappy is to go outside, somewhere where they can be quiet, alone with the heavens, nature and God. Because only then does one feel that all is how it should be and that God wishes people happy amidst the simple beauty of nature. As long as this exists, and it certainly always will, I know that then there will always be comfort for every sorrow, whatever the circumstances may be." With lockdown easing a little, I encourage everyone to follow this advice. Find that place to be alone with nature. It will strengthen you. And I end with a prayer from Isaiah. Those who trust in the Lord will find strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Monwa, for organising this fourth multi-faith service. As Monwa and the High Sheriff said, never give up, never despair was a line in Her Majesty's recent VE Day speech that inspired the theme of this multi-faith service, fortitude. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister at the time of those VE Day celebrations in 1945, said, "Courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm." In American popular culture, we hear a similar exhortation: when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Together, these quotes encapsulate well what we mean by fortitude, having the courage and determination to keep going when things get difficult. Although the roots of the Latin word fortis, meaning strength, we're not talking here about physical strength, but about being strong of mind. Of course, we need fortitude now, as has been said, to see us through the lockdown imposed by the coronavirus. There are many people suffering during lockdown. There have been many hardships and tragic loss of life. But I want to step back a little bit and celebrate others whose fortitude has meant something to me personally, and whose determination has inspired me to keep going when the going gets tough. When Emmeline Pankhurst founded the suffragette movement in 1903, she had already been campaigning for over a decade for equal voting rights for women. She never gave up. It took in total 39 years of tireless campaigning, interrupted only by a world war, before women were finally given equal voting rights to men. Let us also consider the fortitude of the pioneers of the modern environmental movement. Some of these early thinkers are still with us today, still making the case 50 years on for swifter action to tackle the twin threats of climate change and the ecological crisis. It is ultimately them that we have to thank for the now widespread agreement of the urgent need to tackle climate change. And let's celebrate not only the fortitude of today's NHS workers, but also the generation of scientists who dedicated themselves and dedicated their lives to curing disease. It's because of their relentless hard work that we can now even hope for a vaccine to fight COVID-19. So if you're struggling to see the light at the end of the current coronavirus tunnel, look in your rearview mirror. We can gain strength from our shared history. And when it comes to fortitude, we balance on the shoulders of giants. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a real honour to be taking part of this gathering. And I join with friends and colleagues in paying tribute to our frontline workers and also our communities for the numerous acts of kindness which are in evidence day by day and which themselves bring fortitude and encouragement. My own prayers are strengthened by the Psalms, and this week I've been reflecting on Psalm 4 with its call for our hearts to be still and at rest, despite all that is happening around us. The word courage, which is linked to fortitude, is taken from the Latin word cor, which means heart. To have courage is to be a big-hearted person, but also to take care of our own heart. And the central part of this psalm, which I'll read, offers us a threefold teaching. It encourages us to rest in the love and mercy of God, and each day to bring our wounded and damaged heart back to God's grace and love, and each day to trust again in God and to offer our lives back to God in thanksgiving for God's goodness. Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You set me at liberty when I was in trouble. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. How long will you nobles dishonor my glory? How long will you love vain things and seek after falsehood? But know that the Lord has shown me his marvelous kindness. When I call upon the Lord, he will hear me. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. There are many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of your countenance upon us. You have put gladness in my heart, more than when their corn and wine and oil increase. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for it is you, Lord, only, who makes me dwell in safety. Amen.
Thank you very much, Monwa, for organising. It's an honour to be here with you all. These last weeks have been hard and strange times for us all, and even if there's now a glimmer of light on the horizon, it still seems very far away, and the path to it not always clear. We've all suffered heartache and difficulties. We've all been dislodged from our normal modes and patterns of prayer and worship, which makes such a profound dislocation for us, for our faith communities, that are all based around togetherness, group identity, and cooperation. Yet the human spirit at the centre of all our communities has found the strength, the fortitude, and the flexibility to find new ways of being, of doing, and of helping. In the Jewish sources, there are all sorts of occasions of challenge and struggle where courage is called for. The words chazak ve'ematz, be strong and be of good courage, are repeated over and over again in the Hebrew Bible. In our services, even at a moment as seemingly unchallenging as finishing the reading of one of the books of the Torah in the annual cycle that we use in the synagogue, which we would have done yesterday because we would have reached the end of the book of Leviticus before starting the book of Numbers next week. Our custom is to say chazak, chazak v'nit chazek, which means be strong, and let us strengthen one another as the reading ends. Moments of change, of transition, however small the gap that we have to step across, need courage to move on, courage to look at the lessons that have been learned and to set new goals and ambitions for the future. And they need mutual strength and support from one another. How much the more so for a dislocation as great as the one we're living through at the moment. The situation we find ourselves in right now will not last forever, even if it may seem like it at the moment. We will surely come back to our familiar and time-honoured modes of community life. But the lessons we have learned will still be and will still need to stay with us. The renewed awareness of how we can care for the vulnerable and needy. The greater appreciation of daily sacrifices and selflessness carried out every day in our hospitals and care homes. And the greater readiness to reach out to all members of all our communities, not just those who regularly attend our services. I pray that we can chazak v'nit chazek, be strong, and strengthen one another as we move forward together.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Quran calls the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, as the one with immense character. For Muslims, his life and example symbolize the teachings and virtues contained within the Quran. He therefore is the example we follow. At times of difficulty, we are encouraged to take aid in patience and prayer. The Prophet's example is one of enduring great adversity with fortitude. The verses that Muslims often refer to at these moments of trial and affliction are verses 155 to 157 of the second chapter, and it says, "And certainly we shall test you with something of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives, and fruits, but give glad tidings to the patient, who when afflicted with calamity say, truly to God we belong, and truly to him we shall return. They are those on whom are the blessings from their Lord, and they are those who receive his mercy, and it is they who are the guided ones." The experience of loss is a necessity in the cycle of life. We will go through times of fear, loss of loved ones, and socioeconomic loss. However, in normal circumstances, we would experience this over a period of a lifetime. The current COVID-19 crisis has folded all of those trials into the current moment. We are all deeply concerned and fearful for our socioeconomic well-being and also for the lives of our loved ones. As a Muslim, this verse reminds me that ultimately all things return to God, and that, in the words of St. Julian Norwich, all manner of things shall be well. This helps to maintain a positive mental outlook that helps one cope with adversity and focus oneself towards God. May God help us all during these difficult times. Lord, lift the burdens of mental, physical, and emotional loss from us. Lord, support all those involved in the frontline services throughout our country. Lord, please lift this terrible virus from our country and the world. Lord, grant us the strength, patience, and fortitude in these difficult times. Amen.
Namaste, Jai Sri Krishna, Vanakkam, and greetings from the Hindu community of Oxford. Thank you, Manohar, for providing a platform for people of all faiths to join in prayer at this very dark and unprecedented time. Hindus say that unity is strength, and our combined prayers, articulated or sung, chanted sincerely and faithfully, can provide solace and comfort to everyone who is in fear and pain. Hey naat sab sukhi ho, koi na ho dukhari, sab ho nirog bhagwan, dhan dhan ke bhandari. O Lord, let everyone be safe and healthy. O Lord, bless us that we may follow the path of virtue and be happy in your creation. As Hindus, we believe that we need to draw on our inner reserve of fortitude, resilience, and patience to confront disaster that befalls us personally or in our community or anywhere in the world. Hindu Dharma, or the Hindu way of life, inculcates in us an unswerving determination that we must never give up. We must never give up hope, that we must strive to achieve any goal. In this case, the goal is that experts can find a vaccine that will save thousands of lives. It is a daunting and difficult task, but we pray that they are guided by Paramatma to persist with courage and perseverance in their taxing and complicated work. We applaud the fortitude of frontline staff in hospitals and care homes who provide unstinting treatment for those afflicted by the disease. We pray that they are safe from the relentless pace with which the virus has spread. We offer prayers and gratitude to everyone in the service sector who, with admirable courage, make sure our shops are well stocked, Our post is delivered every day. Our dustbins are emptied, and that we have no cause for complaint. There are difficulties, but as individuals, we need to be patient and have faith that this dark phase will soon pass and that we will meet again. In conclusion, I will recite the Hindu prayer for peace and tranquility. Om Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamosoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Dear Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This is to God, so dar keha, so kar keha, jitve sarv samale. In English it translates, where is the gate and where is the dwelling in which you sit and take care of all? I wonder, because there's so much going on in the world with the COVID-19, but I often wonder, where's my Father sitting in and looking at us all and helping us immensely? We were talking about the nature, and the nature is so wonderful. It comforts us gratefully. And fortitude is something that every human needs to have to cope with the daily struggle we have in our life. It can be mentally, emotionally, and physically. The Sikh faith believes that strength comes through hard work and accepting the will of God. Whatever God has planned for us, we must accept. We cannot change that. What we can pray for God to give us courage, to give us strength, to have fortitude during our most difficult and desperate times. Not only this, but the Sikh faith always believes in helping those who are more vulnerable. We are all human beings. Every human being is affected in one way or another. Despite our background, our gender, our age, or religion, or our beliefs. Our fifth Guru inspired and encouraged to contemplate God, because through this all our sorrow and anguishes will depart. May Guru Sahib bless us to accept and understand his will. May we become his faithful devotees, and he will guide and protect forever. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Honorar and fellow speakers, may you all be well at this time. The Buddha grew up as a warrior prince in around 5th century BCE, and as such he was probably trained in the martial disciplines of the day. So he's comfortable, the Buddha's comfortable in invoking military metaphors in his teaching, which for me at least provides a refreshing alternative to the more psychological language of self-acceptance, or the consoling platitudes that one can often encounter in spiritual circles. The Buddha's teaching is the domain of the spiritual warrior, where the enemy is the defiled mind and the havoc that it wreaks both for ourselves and for others. This battle requires tremendous fortitude, as the enemy is so close to home, so difficult to avoid, and so insidious. Humiliation, dejection, and frustration are easily met with as we work to transform the deepest habits of our minds. This finds vivid expression in the work of the 8th century Buddhist poet-philosopher Shantideva, from whose chapter on Kshanti, or patient forbearance, I'm going to read now. Happiness is scarce. Suffering persists with no effort. But only through suffering is there escape. Therefore, mind, be strong. There is nothing which remains difficult if it is practiced. So through practice with minor discomforts, even major discomforts become bearable. The irritation of bugs, gnats, and mosquitoes, of hunger and thirst, and discomfort such as an enormous itch, why do you not see them as insignificant? Cold, heat, rain and wind, journeying and sickness, imprisonment and beatings. One should not be too squeamish about them, otherwise the distress becomes worse. Their own blood for some is valour's boon, while others for others produces a swoon. This comes from the bravery or cowardice of the mind. Therefore one should become invincible to suffering and overpower discomfort. Not even in suffering should a wise person allow their serene confidence of mind to be disturbed, for the battle is with the defilements, and in warfare pain is easily won. Those who conquer the enemy, taking the blows of their adversary on the chest, they are the triumphant heroes, while the rest kill what is already dead.
Firstly, just thank you, dear Monowar, for organising such a beautiful devotional. It's such a joy to be here with you all. I would like to share with you some Baha'i writings on the theme of fortitude, a quality born of faith in God's mercy and the strength and love bestowed upon us. Baha'u'llah is the manifestation of God for today, as believed by Baha'is. One of the hidden words he revealed says, "O son of man, for everything there is a sign. The sign of love is fortitude under my decree, and patience under my trials." At another challenging time for humanity, Abdul Baha offered these words of counsel which hold true for us today. In such a day as this, when the tempests of trials and tribulations have encompassed the world, and fear and trembling have agitated the planet, you must rise above the horizon of firmness and steadfastness with illumined faces and radiant brows, in such wise that, God willing, the gloom of fear and consternation may be entirely obliterated, and the light of assurance may dawn above the manifest horizon and shine resplendently. As Baha'is, we believe our true nature is that of our souls, our spiritual nature, while this material world is fleeting. Trusting in God's love for us, we find strength in difficult times. Baha'u'llah says to us, "The true lover yearneth for tribulation." A quotation from the Baha'i writings says, "The troubles of this world pass, and what we have left is what we have made of our souls. So it is to this we must look, to becoming more spiritual, no matter what our human minds and bodies go through." The writings also provide strength through guidance in this quotation: "Be calm, be strong, be grateful, and become a lamp full of light, that the darkness of sorrows be annihilated, and that the sun of everlasting joy arise from the dawning place of heart and soul, shining brightly." I will now share a short Baha'i prayer, reminding us that fortitude comes from entire reliance on God. Say, "God sufficeth all things above all things, and nothing in the heavens or in the earth but God sufficeth. Verily, he is in himself the knower, the sustainer, the omnipotent."
Great. Thank you to the panel for their thoughtful contributions and for making this a very special multi-faith prayer. May I also take this opportunity to wish the Muslim community advanced Eid Mubarak as we come towards the end of Ramadan. Please keep safe, and do please look out for those who are vulnerable, self-isolating and lonely in your communities. Take care. Thank you for joining us.